Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I've got to get more comfortable in these lives. Stacey, what's happening? Shaniya, I know you're there. We're going to start in just a second. Ooh, give me 1 minute. We'll let the audience kind of build up a little and then we'll bring you in. Good evening, everyone. I don't know where you're coming from, but if it's Instagram or TikTok, let me know. How you doing, Shaniya? And if you are a student or social worker, just put it in the chat so we know who's who and what's what. Also, get ready to bring your questions. Remember, this platform is all about learning, all about growth and all about development. And I'm so fortunate to have a care leaver, people with lived experiences. We've had them on the show all the time. I appreciate it. People with lived experiences are key for our learning because social services does make mistakes and social services will never stop learning. Let me bring Shaniya in right now.
Hi. Oh my goodness. Hang on, I can't hear anything.
Guys,
Hang on.
can you hear me now?
Oh yeah.
I've been talking for ages. I don't know.
No, I can hear you now. I could hear you now. No, I could hear you before. I think it was loading in.
Oh, is it? No. You know what it was? I was on Bluetooth. My headphones are out there.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
That's
Guys, did everybody hear what I said? I mean, let me know if you all heard. Could you
yeah,
hear
yeah,
me
we had
before?
before. Yeah.
Okay, cool. How you doing, sis?
I'm all right. I didn't expect it to be so cropped. I'm so like with the lighting. Like,
No, you're good, man. Don't worry
right.
about it. You know, honestly, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Good to have you on.
Thank you.
It's taken too long. It's my fault.
It's fine.
Yeah. So guys, this is Shaniya, and is that how we say it?
Yes.
And I told her, I said, don't hold back in terms of asking your questions. You're a care leaver. I'm going to let you introduce yourself, but I saw you through TikTok, and I'm fortunate enough. I reach out to some folk. Some folk don't respond. You did, and I'm glad that we can get you on the show because I think we've got a lot to learn from you as social workers and as social work students. Just before we go on, guys, please share this live. This is a massive learning. This is a massive learning session of a live session. So do that and get ready to ask your questions because she's here for that. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So what I'll do is I'll let you introduce yourself. Say whatever you feel you need to say. Tell us. You know, you could take 5-10 minutes to tell us about your journey if you want. Tell us who you are. Only thing I would say is don't say anything that you might put others in hot water with you, or I don't want you to say anything. If you've committed any crimes, I don't want you to say on this channel.
Yeah.
And also, just don't say where you live, and I'm cool with that. So tell us about yourself.
So my name is Shaniya Wray. I'm 20 years old and I'm a care leaver, and I'm also from London as well. So,
Yeah.
and I've been in care for pretty much my whole life. Yeah.
My heart's beating. I'll tell you why. Because I don't know. You know, it's fun. I've been pondering on this live. Right? And only now it hit me when you said I've been in care my whole life. You told me this
Pretty
before,
much.
but it hit me
Yeah.
just now.
Mm.
Do you mind talking about your story?
Yes. So from when I was well, it starts with my mum. So my mum fell pregnant with me, and she was a care leaver herself. So social services already had involvement. And I think when when she was pregnant with me, she was taking drugs, and when I was born, it was found in my system, so social services were involved from then. And then as I grew a bit older, like maybe from in between like the ages of 1 and 3, I started developing like behavioral difficulties that my mum couldn't deal with. So then she struggled with that. So she would give me to my grandma to look after me for a bit. And then my grandma couldn't look after me. So then I'll go back to my mum. And then my mum just made the decision to put me into short-term care at the age of 3. So now from in between the ages of 3 and 5, I was going in and out of short-term care placements. So one minute I'll be with my grandma, and then I'll be with my mum, and then I'll be back in care. So it caused a lot of instability in my early childhood. So then, because my mum had social services involvement due to her drug use and her not coping with my behaviour, they decided to put me into long-term care under the category of, I think it was physical abuse and neglect, because like she hit me with like a belt one time, and then she did it again, and also like my behaviors would come out in school. So yeah, and then so when I was 5, I got put into my first long-term care placement. That placement didn't work out because I was abused in that placement by my foster carer's foster son. So then they moved me from that placement, and then I moved into another placement at the age of 6, and then that placement lasted for 9 years, which was good. It was a married couple, and then after that they retired, and then I moved to another placement, but that placement didn't work out because a situation happened in school, and they believed I was gang affiliated, which was completely like, it was completely out of, like, the whole situation was taken out of context. So then I was only in that placement for, I think it was a few months, about 6 months, and then they moved me at the age of 15. They moved me to Kent, and then it's a lot. I'm sorry. They moved me to
No, no,
Kent.
no, no. You take your time, and we're listening.
Yeah. They moved me to Kent, and I didn't want to be in Kent because obviously I've grown up in London my whole life, and I felt like in that moment social services never listened to me. They didn't let me know in advance that I was moving. So literally they gave me like 2 days notice, and then I moved to Kent, and I was only there for like 2 months. I decided to run away. I ran away back to my mum. Like, this was outside of social services, so it was a police matter. Police got called, and then they basically made me go back to the placement. And then after that, they decided that, okay, they'll move me back to London. And then I moved back to London at the age of 15 with a different carer. And from then, I stayed with this carer from the ages of 15 to 17. So I was with her for 2 years until I then decided that I wanted to move into a supported accommodation, because I wanted like a bit more independence and a bit more freedom. So then after that, I moved there, and I was only there for a few months before I fell pregnant. And then obviously because I was pregnant, they can't accommodate me because of insurance and stuff. So then I moved to where I am now, which is a mother and baby unit. And yeah, that's a lot to say the
How
least.
many placements have you had?
I've had a lot of placements. So between, I think, the ages of like 3 and 5, it was in the double digits. I'm sure it was like over like, I'm sure it was about 20 or slightly less of like short-term placements. And my long-term placements was, let me think, um about 5. I think 5.
So in your whole life, how many do you think?
Ooh, about, I would go, I think maybe like 23 or something. I can't do the maths. I'm not sure exactly how many short-term placements, but I'm sure I read it was like 20. And then, yeah. So
Where,
I would say about 20.
where did you read that?
In my files, I have a bunch of, um, I have my red book, which is like one that like most foster children get, which is given to foster carers. But actually, when I ran away, my mum kept all these court files. It's sensitive information, so I'm not supposed to have them really and truly. But it's a bunch of court documents, contact notes, the amount of placements I've had. So I read it there.
So I know you got some questions for me later.
Yes. I do.
Okay. So someone's asking, is it your court documents?
Is it your court documents. I have like a really big assortment of documents. Like I have court documents. No, it's not life story work. That's something different.
I just want I find it interesting that you actually understand a lot about the system, which is you're for me anyway. For me, you are unique because beyond whatever traumas you may have, you are actually able to see what the system is and understand it. And you understand a lot about what your paperwork is. But it's also showing the importance that you've read your paperwork, which is something that you're entitled to when you are what, 17 or something like that.
18, I think.
18. There you go. So you understand the system. So when you read it, what comes to your mind?
You know what? I feel like for me it was the best thing to read it because, and you know, if anyone on here is a care leaver or the care experience, I would suggest that you get your files and read it because as I was growing up, I think I exhibited a lot of behaviors such as attachment issues, perhaps toxic behaviors within my friendships that I just didn't understand where it was coming from. I thought it was just a part of me. And when reading the files, I could see how some of those behaviors were present in my childhood due to like the traumas that I had been through. But what I was thinking, I thought when I read it, so in the system, like my mum used to be like, oh, social services don't care about you. Social services took you away. Your foster carers don't care about you. They're just doing it for the money. No one cares. And my mum would basically place the blame on the system rather than like the things that she did to like to have me had been put into care. So I think when I read my files, I kind of found the truth. I suppose some stuff may have been like a bit exaggerated or a bit blunt, but like it just made me understand why I was put into care, and it just made me see like that there's actually a really really long process to like have been taken away from my home. So it's not just social services come and just drag you out your home and then like you never go back. It's a really long process and there's a lot that goes into it. So it made me understand that.
Okay. I've got a lot of questions for you. Someone's saying, Jamie Dodgers saying, sometimes reading your paperwork can be really triggering, of course. Oh, I think she's exited herself by accident. Let's bring her back in. Ah, my heart's racing.
I apologize. I accidentally swiped and it took me to a different page. Sorry, what was
so let's go back.
the question?
You probably won't see it. Someone's saying, Stacey saying, thank you for sharing your story. Do you have a positive or negative experience with social workers? So we're going to look at that later on. Jamie Dodgers, if you wanted to join, we'll have a look at joining you at the end, yeah? Because we've got a lot of to go through. But thank you for your bravery for requesting. Can we talk about your behaviour?
Yes, absolutely.
You were probably by some seen as a naughty girl.
Yes.
How do you account for your behaviour?
What do you mean by that? I'm sorry.
So, looking back, did you have to behave the way you did? I'm asking this in a particular way. It sounds stereotypical and ignorant, and I'm asking it that way for a reason, yeah? So why didn't you just, settle into your foster placements, chill out? You should be grateful for having somewhere to go. Why is your behavior such? Why didn't you just sort yourself out?
So, like, it all started when I was a young child. So, like, I was about 5. Like, think of like any child at 5. They're impressionable. They care for their parents regardless. So my mum would kind of get into my head. She would tell me, behave naughty, and then you get given back. And this actually worked in the past because when I was in my short-term respite placement, they would actually give me back to, like, when the placement ended, they would actually give me back to my mum temporarily until they found another placement. I think probably as an emergency procedure or something. But I feel like when I was like, minus the misbehavior that my mum told me to do, I had actual behavioral issues. So I had like diagnosed hyperactivity as well. I had disorganized attachment, which is like an attachment issue. And also I feel like it was just poor emotional regulation as well. So I feel like me behaving the way I did, it was inevitable. I was going through all sorts of different types of abuse as well that I never told anybody I never told anybody about, like, ever. So it was probably really hard for me to deal with all of that, and it just came out in misbehavior.
How far back do you remember?
Um, very far back, actually. I remember.
What age?
I would say around nursery, maybe even when I was a toddler. I remember being in a high chair and throwing food, which is random.
That's normal.
Yeah, but I'd say actual, like, really bad behavior, I would say from when I was still with my mum, probably in like nursery or reception. Very, and I used to do really, really bad stuff. I used to, like, my behavior was so bad that from in primary school I had to be sent to a PRU for a few days, and I was at a really high risk of exclusion from mainstream school as well. I used to hit, scream, throw chairs, terrorize children. It was awful. But yeah.
Is any of that still in you now?
Partly, it's sometimes I feel like I have the, like, I find before it was like attention seeking behavior that kind of manifested in my teenage years. So I used to be like the class clown. Like, if you see it, when people see me now, they're like, they can't put two and two together. I don't come across as someone who would just do the craziest stuff. But I always used to be excluded in secondary school, but it was just attention seeking behaviors. But now I kind of still have frustration as well, but I have to, and also I have a daughter of my own, so I have to really channel my energy, like, and I have to have like certain coping mechanisms, because I still get to the point where I feel like I'm gonna explode, but it's honestly about managing it as well.
When you say you ran to your mum, was it from Kent?
Yeah.
You ran, how old were you?
15. I was 15.
So you ran away. Why did you run back to your mum?
I ran to my mum because from the time when I initially went into like long-term care, I barely saw my mum, because my mum, obviously, my mum and I, we used to live in London, and then she moved to Birmingham, and obviously, like, because she lived far, she had like two more children as well, my two brothers at the time, so she couldn't make like contact, like physical contact, in-person contact, that often. So I didn't really see her. We didn't have phone contact either. So obviously, I would, like, at the time I was just left with, oh, I got taken away from my mum. I didn't know anything more, anything less, because I didn't have access to my files at that point. So every time I saw her, I was under the impression that, okay, she's a good person, and like, she's my mum. Like, I feel like no matter what happens, you still have, like, when you're not matured as well, and when you don't have the insight of the truth and like the bits and pieces that happened in your life, you just have kind of one vision. So I kind of went back to her because I trusted her, and I thought that I just wanted to see how it was at home. I wanted to be home with my mum and my siblings, so that's why I went back, and because I didn't know otherwise as well.
And are you in touch with your brothers and sisters?
No, I'm not in touch with them at the moment. I'm not even in touch with my mum at the moment. My mum and I don't speak because there was a situation where I confronted her on the stuff that she did to me, and like the stuff, and her not taking responsibility, because at that point I had access to the files that she gave me, and I kind of confronted her, and it kind of blew up. So we don't talk at the moment, but in the future I hope to rekindle that relationship.
Wow.
Yes, it's a lot.
And you've got a child now.
I do.
Tell us about your little one.
Yeah, she's great. My 1-year-old daughter. She's honestly, I feel like it's been healing to have a child, to be fair, because like I kind of have a like I have someone to treat the way that I wanted to be treated as I was growing up, and I could kind of it's great because you could break the stereotypes. It's like just because I've had a bad upbringing, like in the early in the early stages of my life, doesn't mean I have to continue the generational curse. Like it can be broken, it can be fixed. So good stuff.
What religion are you?
I'm Christian, so I'm a believer in Christ.
And have you always been a Christian?
Yes, pretty much.
And what has it meant to you of late?
It's meant a lot. It's honestly, it's the foundation of my life. Definitely. I feel like without Christ, I would be a totally different person. I would, I would be messed up mentally because I would have no like hope. I would have no I can't find the words. I'm sorry. Um, there would there would be no optimism. Like I would feel like I have no purpose. So it gives me purpose, and it's great.
Doing well, by the way. Okay. So my swimming pad said, do you have any support system that might help you, especially as a mum?
Um, yes. So I have my previous foster carers from two two of my foster homes. One of them have extended family. That was the one that I was with for 9 years, and I have um the other foster carer who has like a network around them, which I'm quite close with.
So you have access to two families.
Yes,
Right?
that's great.
Are they like close?
Yeah,
Good. So you see them regular.
I haven't been as much because sometimes I go through my own. Like that's another thing. It's being in care. I struggle with like attachment issues. Is completely off topic. So I actually struggle in my personal relationships. So that's another thing. But yeah, I do try to keep in contact as much as I can, as much as I can manage, and I do see them on occasion.
Okay. So guys, if you have any more questions, please ask now. Now we understand who you are. I think that your journey is particularly interesting because you're able to articulate it. You're able to say it. Like I said to someone else I interviewed as well, I'm like, where's your book? You know what I mean? You're going to write a book one day or something, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Because what I'm hearing is we don't often get to hear these stories. You know, we might read about them in some books. We might see a clip on YouTube from someone, but this is really raw. And I think you're massively brave to tell it. Someone saying, how was education and a career for you as a child in care or a care leaver? I don't know how you interpret that question.
Yes. Education. Okay, education. You know what? In primary school, I struggled a lot because I had behavioral issues. In secondary school, I still struggled a lot. But you know, one thing that I noticed, especially looking back, is that all the teachers around me recognized my academic potential, but I had like very low self-esteem. I didn't like understand how much academic potential I had, and also I was just busy trying to be the class clown. So, and also like when I was 15, a situation happened in school where I dropped out. I never went back in, despite my academic potential, and I ended up being like homeschooled for a few months until I moved like placements as well. Like moving placements as well. The time that I moved to Kent, it also disrupted my education because I had to change schools as well, and that took absolutely ages to find a school. So with my GCSEs, I did alright. I was only at the school the new school for 2 months in year 11 before the I don't know if it's gonna censor before the whole thing happened where we had to wear masks.
I'm like, what are you trying to say? I get it. That thing where people had to wear masks. I remember that time. Yeah.
Yeah, I was only in school for 2 months. So I think I failed my maths. I only got a 3. English, I got a 5. Oh, a 3 is a fail, by the way. A 5 is a pass. I passed in every other subject, but right now, I'm not doing much. I'm thinking about maybe going back into education, um, just maybe. But I'm more on the business side of things, to be fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have a child, so it's quite hard.
Yeah. You know, to be fair, couple of years, a minimum a couple of years before you get yourself together. Oh, she left again. But we're gonna invite her back. She made me laugh, where is she? There she is. She makes me laugh. Oh, she's joined. She's accept.
I'm sorry. They need to fix this. It's so inconvenient the way that this whole thing is laid out. I apologize. I'm
Don't worry.
sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Do oh, I was saying to you that a couple of years is at least what you need because you're a mum
Yeah.
and
Yes.
babies are demanding and all of that. So, don't feel too much pressure. You're still really young, to be honest. You're lucky.
Yeah.
I'm always an advocate for having children young because I think but when your child is 20, she'll be looking after you,
Mm-hmm.
and you're about 40, and still young. Do your siblings have the same views about your parents as you do?
Oh, no, absolutely not. It's totally different dynamic. So me, now I have siblings on my mum's side and I have a brother on my dad's side. I don't really see my dad. My dad's kind of irrelevant in this whole situation. So my mum actually, I was the only one taken away, bear in mind. So obviously they've grown up with my mum. My mum actually, she's managed my siblings a lot better, even though she still has a bit of like extra trauma that she needs to deal with, and it still does come out in terms of them. But they're little kids, they're none the wiser, and they've grown up with that. And so to them, my mum's like the best mum in the whole entire world. And I mean, I respect that for them, but I mean, me, I have a different. Like, I still have respect for my mum, but obviously, um, I know what I've been through at the hands of her, and as someone who's matured, I could see um, areas where she may not be maturing and where she needs to do that extra work to go on a healing journey so she could be a bit better.
Do you hate anyone?
Nah. Well, there was a time where I felt like I hated my mum, but I can't wholeheartedly hate my mother, despite what she's done, and also because I mean because I have a Christian faith, I try to lean on that and forgive and not hold hate in my heart as well. And also, when you hate it, it takes a lot of energy to hate. It's better to come to terms with stuff, accept it for what it is, because you can't change the past, and move on and try to use it for a good, like for purpose and to better your life. So yeah.
My swimming pad said I was talking to a colleague about how dads are often not carried along in the life journey of their children in care. What role did your dad play in your experience and journey? Thank you so much. Before I get you to, I should have checked that question. Don't answer any question that you don't feel you need to answer.
Yes.
Yeah, but if you want to, it's up to you.
So, my father didn't really have much of a role. I think apparently he did try to come and fight for me, but apparently it's for a more cynical reason, like he wanted a 2 bedroom council flat. So my mum said, but obviously my mum kind of says anything sometimes. I didn't really care. I didn't really want to be with my dad anyway because he wasn't really there. It was more, as a child, it was more like a fantasy kind of thing. Oh, I have my dad and dad, but it's not something I really wanted anyway. I would have contact with him here and there, but he moved out of the country, moved to Spain, and he pretty much forgot about me for years until when I ran away at 15, I asked my mum about my dad, and it was only then I got in contact with him. Otherwise, he never checked for me or anything. We don't have a relationship now because I decided to cut him off as well, just because I felt like he was a bit immature. So, yeah.
Question from Dulcie: what brings you happiness and peace today?
My daughter and the Lord, as in Jesus. That's all. Literally.
Okay.
And peace. And having a good mindset as well.
And having a what?
A good
Mindset.
mindset. Like thinking abundantly. Don't like right now I'm in supported accommodation. I'm on universal credit. I haven't got a job or anything. I could be getting down on myself thinking, oh, I'm a bum, I'm never gonna be anything, but it's always good to think abundantly and think good things. That you can be something someday.
Okay. So we're going to take a couple more questions. As a person who was in care and got to change placements a lot, what do you think about fostering? Now we're going to come to that. We're going to come to it. Do you have any plans for your daughter to have a relationship with your mum and siblings?
I actually do, surprisingly enough. You know what? I feel like ever since ever since I found out I was pregnant, I've been kind of mastering, like, just mentally preparing myself to kind of go down that route because obviously, like, I want her to know her biological family, and I'm hoping that my mum would take the stage to heal and take accountability for the wrong that she's done. So yeah, especially my siblings, because my siblings are an innocent party. They were just children there. So yeah.
Okay. Do you feel that your foster placements were well matched for your culture and religion?
Yes, absolutely. From what I can remember, especially my long-term placements, I've all of them have been Black Caribbean. Even one of the rest by Black Caribbean, Christian backgrounds as well. So I feel like I don't even feel like I feel like I was just blessed in that aspect because I know it's not the case for a lot of people. I would even go as far as to say most people.
Okay. So I'm going to hand the mic to you in the sense that you get to ask your questions. Don't hold back. Go for it. If you want to cuss, I don't know what you want to say, but say what you know what I mean.
Okay. So I have a question. Why are social workers so secretive?
What do you mean?
Like when I moved placements, I feel like it was honestly like my whole experience is kind of like this inside operation. Like they have meetings and I'm out the room. I don't know what's being said, and then all of a sudden, all these decisions have been made, and I didn't really have a say in them. Especially that time when they moved me to Kent, they literally let me know. My social worker came and he said, "Oh, you're moving in 2 days, no notice or anything." And yeah, I was just left in the dark, and I didn't appreciate that.
So what you're saying is you would like to have been in the meetings where we were discussing where your placement would be.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
well, I didn't know I was going to move at all.
Okay. So I'm going to bear in mind that I'm answering this question not in your case, but just generally speaking.
Yes.
We generally don't discuss it with you for a number of reasons. It could be time. Moving placements is very stressful for a social worker because there's a lot of boxes to tick. So we don't just say, so it's a special team it goes to. And I don't know if it's an emergency situation. Let's say you're really not getting on with your carer. Let's say you beat up your carer. That happens, right? Or you're breaking stuff in the house and the carer saying, I want her out now. I'm going to call the police. I, as a social worker, will have to apply to a team that does these placements, and they work from 9 till 5. Generally, sometimes a bit longer, depending on if they're waiting. And I'm waiting to hear back from them, but it could be 4 p.m. and I'm like, I'm supposed to go home at 5 o'clock. Am I going to be out here having to prepare to move Shaniya to her next placement? So I'm guessing that when you moved to your new placement, a social worker took you. Yeah. Yeah. And was it sometimes out of hours?
Yeah.
So then that social worker will be shattered because they've worked the full day. And so we only, what the placements team do is or the resources team do, they will send me maybe 1 or 2 options that are available. And let's say you live in Croydon, South London, yeah? And this one could be in Enfield, could be a good placement, but in a rubbish area. Or it could be a not so good placement in when I say not so good, not as nice as the other one, but it could be in Kent. Which one do I choose?
The good one.
So which one? I mean, they're both, I can't say they're bad, but one is nicer than the other. Which one do you think I should send you to?
Probably the one in the good area.
Do you want to go all the way to Kent?
No.
Okay, so
But from a social worker's perspective, that's what they did.
you understand? And that's because that's all. I can bet that them sending you to Kent, there wasn't any safeguarding issues in your area, was there?
Actually, there was. Yeah. It was that. Yeah. But they never really. Actually, I wasn't really. Actually, no, I was open about it, but it worked against me. Like, it wasn't. I tried to reassure them that there was no concern or anything.
So what was in their head?
They literally thought, like, even I read some of my files, they thought I was gang affiliated. That is a massive stretch.
Okay.
But it was,
so you're asking that question then. So let's say I believe that you're affiliated or in a gang, yeah? And that your life might be in danger in some way. Do you think I should keep you in the area or send you somewhere further where you might be kind of disengaged from that gang?
Yeah. Send me somewhere else. But no one listened to me. I literally tried to say that I'm not in a gang. Like, these are just people that I know. They're not even a gang. They're just people from a PRU. Like, I feel like they run with the stereotypes and just make it something that it's not. That was like.
So my question to you then is, do you think that I should believe you?
It would be risky.
Why?
I suppose because if anything does happen, it's on you, really, in the eyes of the system. So it's a tough one, but I hated it at the time, I must say.
So for us, we make a decision that you really won't like, but I'm listening to you, and I can hear your question. Your question is real. Like, why can't we be a part of that? It actually depends on the situation. I will ask a child. I've got Kent and I've got Essex, and depending on the relationship in the issues, I might say to the child, which one do you want? But if it's an emergency and it's a lot of pressure, I'm just going to make that decision.
Yes.
And for you, how do you receive that as a child?
A lot better. I think that should be a better practice. Even though it's further out, there's more choice. So it feels like us as like a foster child would be like it'll make us feel like we have a say in the actual decision. It's not just being done behind our back.
Oh, so you think that we should consult with you more?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'm learning from that. All right, 1 second. This live will be saved? Yes. Okay. So yeah, next question.
How do you feel being at the forefront of, like, I know that social workers don't make all the big decisions, but you're kind of like the messenger that like tells parents and foster carers everything. Do you feel like social workers are protected enough against like the brunt of everything? Because I feel like social workers receive a lot of the brunt of big decisions. And
meaning that we have to say things like give families the bad news and stuff
yeah,
like that. So are we protected in terms of, are we supported enough? I got a question for you then. Someone said no. All right. So my question for you is, how could we be protected better?
It's a good question.
Anything that can pop into your head, because I actually don't know either.
I would say definitely social workers should have body cams as well.
So let's say you're a mom. Sorry, did you finish speaking? Sorry.
No, I was just saying. That's what I said.
So let's say I'm coming to your house and I'm recording everything. How would that make you feel?
Or maybe like an audio.
Let's say it's an unannounced visit and your house is not actually kind of ready.
Maybe like a audio.
Audio only.
Yeah. Just so there's no mixed messages, because I know sometimes, I mean, you have some angry parents online saying that social services have made up stuff, and then obviously parents do make up stuff, because I mean, like my mum was one of them who made stuff up. So I feel like it would help. I can't find the word. I'm sorry. It would help more.
I understand. Okay, that's fine. You know what? I'm 50-50 on it. I think that we should have the right to use them. Only where we are worried about something. People's homes where I wish I could take a picture of this situation, but it's difficult in that situation.
Yeah.
Because I remember I visited a family's home once and I said that home was really in really bad condition. And the police were like, this is really bad. And then when I spoke to the parents, because the parents weren't there at the time, and I said to the parents, it was not good. And they're like, what are you talking about? We tidied up our house before. And I'm like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. X, Y, and Z was the situation in the house. And they're like, nah, you're lying. Social services lying again. So I don't think we can be protected. When giving bad news, I just think this is the job. The government's not protecting us.
No.
Social Work England, I don't think is doing enough. I think that we're just out there by ourselves. So if you want to write a letter to Social Work England or the government, you can do that.
Yeah. I have another question.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would want to do, like you feel like, sorry. Yeah, is there anything that you wish you can do in the system that, I mean, sorry. Is there anything that you wish you could do that the system doesn't allow you to do? Like, do you find the system is kind of restrictive? And
I'm laughing because I don't know if I can say it. I can't say it.
it's all right. Next question.
Oh, what? I actually, no. Actually, let me go back. Yeah, okay. I think the system should allow non-social workers supporting like family practitioners or youth workers to do some of the work with us. Some of the statutory work with us. I think they should be allowed to do that, and that will alleviate some of the pressure.
Statutory work, like what?
Like administration, like if I've got visits, not only the social worker can do them, but other people can do it that know the family really well.
Yeah, a lot of...
You know, because if I've got to do a lot of court, if I've got 5 families and 2 of them are in court, and I've got to come out and see Shaniya, I might just run in and run out like, yeah, all right, then I've got to go because I'm under mad pressure to get certain reports done, whereas someone else could have done it. And I've got to drive to you as well. And you've moved to Kent. So I live in London. I've got to drive all the way to, you know what I'm talking about. I've got to drive all the way to Kent. And to find that you're not even there. You know? So I think social workers go for a thing where it's like, we need assistance. So do our jobs, you know.
brings me on to the next question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever feel like cutting corners?
Oh no! I told you not to hold back, and you didn't. Um, feel like,
Yes.
yeah, but I don't.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. You feel like if there's a lot of pressure on anybody, yeah, you gotta say to yourself, how can I do this? Like if I've got 10 hours of work and I've got 8 hours to do it, what do you do?
Mm.
You've got to work out who you're going to let down.
Mm.
So, of course, the thought comes, how can we do this? Someone telling me, don't lie. I know. I'm not lying. Um, I'm, I do think about it, of course, because I have to think about how efficient I have to be. Yeah. I'm going
Mm.
to, yeah, because you're going to get me in trouble.
How do you cope with like the workload, like knowing that you can't do everything? Like, do you ever get burnt out or feel like not coming in some days?
Yeah. So I was burnt out about 3 weeks ago.
Mm.
Like, back. Um, yeah. The answer to that is yeah. Simple. Yeah. Is there any comments you want to read? I don't know.
Yeah, let me
Yeah.
go. Money resources would help definitely. Confidentiality. Oh, that's too far up. I'm sorry. What's the hardest part of going to court as a social worker, especially removing someone out of their biological parents? That's a question from Jamie Dodgers.
Oh, yeah. Look, I can't see that question.
It says, "What's the hardest part of going to court as a social worker, especially removing someone out of their biological
Um,
parents?"
I think the hardest. What's the hardest part of going to? What's? Sorry, let me just read it because I want to make sure I got it. What's the hardest part of going to court as a social worker? So I don't know if you're answering and asking at the same time, but for me, going to court. I mean, everyone finds something different. Everyone finds their own thing difficult. So I don't mind going to court. Um, the last time I went to court, I felt like I was abused. I didn't mind going to court, but I don't like being lied about or misunderstood.
Mm.
And sometimes families or parents can, and the public always complain about this. They're like, you lie in court. I don't know if you read my comments on my channel, but people are accusing social workers of being liars all the time. It's not true, but some do, I'm sure. Saying that, I was treated as a liar
Mm.
and a bully in court, and it's like I was actually trying to help. So someone can take what your good work and then throw that on you in court because they're desperate, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that is a horrible experience, and I understand why social workers hate that. But the hardest thing I've had to do is take a child from the home. That is the hardest thing, and it was a child that said, I want to go, can I go home now? I was driving, it was a half-hour journey, and she said, can I go home now? And I said,
Mm.
and she said to me, why are you taking me from she was felt it was my fault. Why are you taking me from my mum and dad? I just want to go home. And I nearly started crying in the car because I'm like, I've got a child, it was the same age. And not only that, but I put in a lot of work with the family to try and avoid it happening. But and it wasn't even me that took the child out. It was I know it was the police, but it was me I had to pick up the pieces, and the child was like, "Yeah, I want to go home now." I said, "You can't go home,"
Yeah.
and there were lots of questions about it on the journey.
That's so deep. I feel like tearing up because I could just imagine that. Wow.
Yeah, and then they were looking at me. So I'd always do these visits, and then I was really getting on with the family. One day it just went bad, and then the child suddenly looked at me as the enemy.
Mm.
So that was the toughest thing I've done. Yeah.
So money resources would help definitely, but in this time a lot of funding is being cut anyway, so I don't think it's gonna go up. I think it's slowly gonna go down.
Ain't going. There's no more money coming.
Someone said how? Oh, I think we did that one. I hate it when stuff doesn't meet the threshold, but it isn't good enough and it's harming the child/young person.
Yeah, that happens. I've done that. I used to work in an assessment team, and I used to see that a lot. Sometimes you could tell parents were lying, but you couldn't prove it, and so you think. I'd have discussions with management and colleagues to say, we've got to let this case go because we haven't got the evidence, but we believe something's happening.
Yeah.
Why does a social worker take the kid's phone away? Do we?
But sometimes there's rules in the placement that some foster children might have to give their phone in. I think they used to do that with me, but I refused because I was old enough. But, yeah. It depends on the placement, because they don't sometimes, especially if you're in school, they don't want you on your phone all night. So sometimes they do that.
Yeah, it depends on what the risks are and depends what the rules of the home are, really. The social worker can override it a lot of the time, but if the social worker has to be convinced that it's okay or not.
Yeah. There are lots of issues around social media at the moment. There are.
Chelsea is saying there's a lot of social workers that don't do as much as they should, or does it for the money. I came across over a few over the years. I feel like a lot of young people's opinions are based on, I'm not sure what you're saying quite, but it's like foster carers. Do you think that foster carers should, if we only had enough foster carers and social workers who did it because they love young people, would lose a lot of social workers and foster carers? Is there anything wrong with doing it for money is the question, I guess.
I think somewhat it depends. I think if it's a social worker, I think it's more okay. But I feel like sometimes, you know what? I feel like the point should be to not be able to tell. Like a client shouldn't be able to tell whether you're doing it for the money or doing it out of purpose. But ideally, you want to do it out of purpose because you're not going to enjoy it at all. And also, like I think I've had a foster carer before in my past that I suspected was doing it just for the money because of like there was just a difference in the way that she kind of treated me. Like she would get me all off-brand little stuff. Like I was grateful nevertheless, and then her son would have all the day brand stuff.
Why?
In the cupboard would have separate cupboards as well, and then she would kind of like be like a cheapskate when she's taking me on shopping, but then I'll see her son having all this nice stuff. Now I'm grateful, I'm fed, I'm watered, but I could see like the difference in the way that I was being treated, and I didn't get that same care and affection in the placement as I did with my other placements. So like it just rubbed me the wrong way. So, and also it affected the way that I integrated into that placement as well and into that family. I didn't really want anything to do with it. But yeah, the point is to not be able to tell.
So what it is, someone's asked a question, it's way up the list. I would like to start. Would you join me for about 10 minutes in another live? Because this one will cut off in after the hour.
Oh,
yeah. So what I'll do is I'm going to restart this live in about 30 seconds. I think someone's got a question here. It was my swimming pad. Bring your question in the next live. Okay, we're going to start again in about 30 seconds. Shaniya, I've got some questions for you. You might still have more questions, but I just want to carry this on for about 10 more minutes because there's some things I want to ask you. All right, see you guys in a sec.
cool.